Last time we talked about why it's necessary for human beings to immigrate to the Mars planet. And this uh, episode, we will talk about what's the life on Mars like after some human beings already successfully landed on Mars and started the life there. Um, when we talk about life on Mars, of course, we need to talk about the air, the water, and the food, how they breathe, how they drink and eat. I think that it's very obvious that we already, we human beings already sent tens of vehicles or spaceships to the Mars and detected there is plenty of water there, and there's plenty of carbon dioxide, which consists of the oxygen element there. That is the majority part of the atmosphere on Mars. The problem is we have to convert those carbon dioxide in the atmosphere of Mars into oxygen, and we need to convert those carbon element from the carbon dioxide into carbon organic food product. Then we can eat them. Then the transmission of those things is the center transmission should be the plant, the grain plant, which we saw everywhere, which on Earth, and which covers the majority of the land surface of Earth, and that generates the majority of the oxygen on Earth. And we have to use the same thing on Mars. And although that will take many years, probably thousands of years, or at least hundreds of years, to convert all the all the carbon dioxide on Mars into oxygen, and then we can eat the fruits and byproducts of those plants, and also we can benefit from the oxygen and the water, purified water generated by those plants. And when it comes to the plants, in my opinion, one of the best plants for Mars is coconut, and it can generate coconut water and coconut meat. And the coconut itself, it has fiber. The coconut is about the same size as a basketball, and the majority of the husk is useless on Earth, but it can be used as a plastic fiber because there's no petroleum or all kinds of oil on Mars. We have to use plastic. Then we have to find some replaceable things instead of plastic on Mars. Then the coconut shell is the coconut husk. It can be the fiber in it can be reproduced into to be used as a similar product to the plastic. And the inner side about maybe a football or a soccer size, and it's full of water and meat, which is a good drink and a good vitamin and mineral and electrolyte supplement for all human beings, and it's very good. And I think coconut currently only available in tropical areas on Earth, can be in the future developed to endure higher temperature and lower temperature environment, or more critical temperature environment. And on Mars, I think most people at the beginning have to live underground within very solid, very strong not plastic, probably glass shelves, or glass capsules, or glass tubes, or glass domes, until hundreds of years later, they convert all the air into a breathable level. Then they can get out of the underground glass ceilings and then can do activities in the open air. But before that, at the beginning, first a few, probably a few hundred years, they have to live underground with glass ceilings, with sealed all kinds of containers or capsules. And inside it, there should be machines to generate the original amount of the oxygen, all kinds of other air and all kinds of other food and water, and convert the maybe freeze the water liquid, purify them, and then distill them into drinkable level, and then plant the all kinds of plants, including coconut and maybe rice and flower plants and fruits and vegetables, and maybe also farm some meat there indoor in the maybe a green warm house, and so that people can live and with food, air, and water. That's the basic thing of the life on Mars. And when people get more and more population, like reproduce more and more population on Mars, or we send more and more people on Mars, like to the thousands of people or tens of thousands of people or millions of people, which is a functionable city, then we have to use some currency there. Since there's no petroleum, there's no oil, there's no trees on Mars, then we cannot have wood, we cannot have paper, we cannot have ink to print money, to print the Benjamin Franklin on the paper. Then we have to use some cryptocurrency there. Currently, we have more than enough all kinds of cryptocurrencies, from Bitcoin to Ethernet, Dogecoin to all kinds of other coins, Shiba Inu, etc. But probably in the future, we have to choose one of them. I think currently the most possible one is the Dogecoin. But in the future, there may be a Mars coin or some other coins to be generated as a list of number and be used as a fiat money on the Mars for those Martian immigrants to use to generate their business, their commercial life. And so the Bitcoin and its other cryptocurrencies is a good asset, and it can be a good applicable on other planets. And so it has, from this aspect, it has value. Now to say, like some country like El Salvador already legalized it as fiat money, and that's my view of the currency or money on Mars will be used on Mars. And other than air, water, food, and money, if the city can be built bigger and bigger with thousands of people to tens of thousands to millions of to tens of millions of people to eventually maybe to 1 billion people on Mars, there should be vehicles. And since there's no petroleum there, the vehicles cannot use petroleum, cannot use gas, so they have to use electricity, and the electricity have to be generated either via fossil fuels, not fossil fuels, from what's that called? From some green energy. The best one probably is from solar power, or some wind, or maybe some volcano heat. But since the few spaceships to Mars will be built by SpaceX and Elon Musk, I think they will use their solar city technology, and they will use their Tesla vehicles to let everybody drive Tesla. underground with underground sealed roads and use solar power and electricity, solar power generated electricity power to power up the vehicles for people to drive there. And the internet will also be provided by Elon Musk's group's companies, which is the Starlink. On Mars, I think there will not be enough people to go everywhere to build up the signal towers and dig holes everywhere to put in the internet fibers. The most convenient way is to send all the satellites from Earth to Mars, send maybe like thousands of them, and then to generate a similar to Starlink on Earth, the same Starlink for Mars, thousands of satellites to cover the Mars with all kinds of high-speed internet. That's the internet on Mars. Then we finished talking about the air, the water, the food, the money, the vehicle, the internet. And for other like factories and maybe government and the schools, I think, well, that's for when it comes to government, that will be a much bigger topic. It involves with democracy and government and elections and laws. Then we will put it in a next episode into another topic. But the business and factories and other things other than government, I think will be same on Earth, and they will be initially be operated all majorly underground, and everything will be slightly more expensive. And other than that, I think there's not much different. The only difficult thing is the first few groups of people who landed on Mars will be the pioneers who risked their life to build up their basement and build up the core part of the city, based on the core the following immigrants from Earth to Mars will be able to build up this a bigger and bigger community, and then evolve into a city, a fully functional city and fully functional state or country. That's basically a rough description of the life on Mars. And for more detail like finance rules, laws, governance, politics, etc., we will talk it in the next episode. Okay, thank you.
There are some questions that the viewers sent in. So we wanted to see if we could get some answers for these while we have you here. So you mentioned that coconut was a plant that you thought had potential in Mars. Are there any other plants that you feel are particularly good or would have a good potential to be used in Mars or grown in Mars? Mars?
Yeah. I mentioned coconut because coconut is considered as the best beverage from the nature. It is big, and it has many kinds of values, both its husk and inside water, and so that's why I mentioned coconut only. For other plants, there are many, especially like the potatoes is grown underground. It does not occupy much land, and it has huge nutrition value as well. It has all kinds of vitamins, many kinds of vitamins, and it generates many other what's that called organs like flowers in it, and maybe potassium in it, and it is a good
minerals.
Intake for minerals and vitamin and energies.
Next question. So you mentioned that you believe the cities on Mars are going to be built underground. Do you not think that it would be difficult to excavate that much, especially in the beginning stages of creating a city or a settlement on Mars? Can you explain a little bit more on why you think that underground is the best way to go?
That's a good question. I think currently the Elon Musk's group, one of his company is Hyperloop One. They are building bigger and bigger, stronger and stronger machine to automatically dig a hole for the Hyperloop One train to go through. It's vacuum underground and it's very high speed, maybe 1,000 miles per hour. That speed. And to use that same machine on Mars will be very ideal, and it can dig a hole underground very efficiently, and it's big enough for a car and a train to go through and people to walk through, and it can be sealed. On Earth, it's sealed as vacuum. On Mars, it can be sealed as vacuum, then automatically put in breathable air. That's I think that's ideal. I think that's already being planned, and will be planned by Elon Musk and his company staff. I think that's how they plan this part of Mars.
Okay. Do you know, or how would you look at earthquakes as a potential threat for an underground tunnel or the cities built on Mars?
Earthquake. I'm not sure if there's earthquake on Mars or how strong, but there should be, since there's volcanoes there, and Mars is also a solid stone shape, stone material planet similar to Earth, and so it should be there should be some earthquake, but I think it should be weaker than the Earth, because it's smaller and the gravity should be is smaller, also smaller than the Earth. But so when it comes to earthquake, Japan Japan has, I think, more than 1,000 earthquakes every year. Every day it has a few, but just most of the earthquakes you cannot feel by human beings. But Japan experienced hundreds to 1,000 earthquakes every year, but there's no building fell out because of earthquake. And Japan, in Tokyo and Osaka, the underground is almost full of all kinds of tunnels for trains and cars to pass through, but there's no earthquake to destroy them. So if on Mars we can build the same strong level or anti-earthquake level of underground tunnels for people to live there, for cars to go travel through, and for trains to commute there, then we can conquer this earthquake problem.
Okay. And then, so this kind of gets a little bit into something that you're going to talk in the next episode. So the government on Mars, how would it work from when it starts and later? But yeah, we can leave that until the next episode. Talking about the coins, Mars coin or otherwise, any currency being used. Do you think that would be the government, regardless of what that government is? Do you think it would be the government who would issue that coins? And even if there was a Mars coin that was being used, do you think that there would still be people using other kinds of currencies that they might still have left over from when they were on Earth? They might still have some Bitcoin, or they might still have some US dollars, or they might other stuff like that. They could potentially still use those on Mars. Do you think that's possible? And then also, do you think people will do a lot of bartering in the beginning, just exchanging goods for goods instead of using currency?
Well, for very details, it's really hard to describe, like similar to like you asked, the first few houses on Mars is round shaped or triangle shaped or rectangle shaped. It's hard to describe that detail. It really depends on where they land and how many people and how the situation they face every day. That the day one they face this situation, day two they face the other situation. It's really hard to describe. But really, there should be I think there should be a currency that can be controlled by the government. They're like similar to the Bitcoin currently used, legalized in El Salvador, or the ERMB the e-fiat currency issued by the PR China's central government. There should be a currency that can be controlled by the central government. And if there is any other like cryptocurrency which is uncontrolled by the government available on Mars, that is hard to say. And I'm not sure if, since those people on Mars will not, at least the first few thousand people, they will not be able to come back to Earth. I'm not sure if the Bitcoins and other cryptocurrencies they got from the Earth will have any value on Mars. That's hard to say. They can have if the government on Earth accepts the legalize the finance transactions between Mars and Earth, then they will have value. But if they don't, the government on Earth don't allow them to interact with the finance system on Earth, then they will not have value. So it's really hard to describe those details and discuss the yeah.
All right, and then this is the last question.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that you expect that for internet on Mars, they're going to use satellites, the current system that they have are currently testing here on Earth. But if they do use satellites, wouldn't it be problematic to have a city that is underground, considering that if you're underground, the signal from the satellites might not be that great?
Yeah. And well, that's another very detailed question, but that's a good question. If like I said, all the underground cities and underground tunnels or roads or houses, they should have glass ceilings where they can absorb the heat from the sunlight and they can utilize the sunlight and power. And since they have only a glass ceiling similar to our mobile phone on Earth, although we have a few layers, concrete layers above our head, but we can still use mobile phone to connect to the satellites on the orbit. So on Mars, if we just a little underground, like only a few glass ceilings underground, then we are still able to communicate directly with the satellites. And it's very underground, like 10 floors underground, or 20 or 30 or 50 stories underground. Then we have to use a maybe central antenna to directly connect with the satellite, and then use the antenna to like central broadcasting the Wi-Fi layer to layer. Then we have a local Wi-Fi and then connect to the antenna. Yeah, that's how probably we will solve this problem. Yeah.
All right.
That's it. Yeah.
That is all the questions. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay.